than the musicians of Winnipeg. I want to see a downtown French Quarter.
By the way, who here plays an instrument? What do you play? Doug, what do you play?
What do I play?
Yeah, what do you play? What instrument do you play?
I've been playing the saxophone professionally in this city for 40 years.
Very cool. What do you play? What do you play?
I play Indian drums.
Indian drums? Right?
I actually started playing harmonica with my grandpa when I was a kid. I have a chromatic with a slide, and I also do a really mean air guitar.
Nice. Ed, you play an instrument?
I do a little bit of harmonica, and I'm learning piano at Portage Place, the public piano.
Very cool.
I've been practicing.
Very cool. Omar, you play?
I'm a hip-hop guy. I love dance.
You're a hip-hop. All right. Don, how about you, Don?
Sing. No, I love to sing. Karaoke.
Yeah, I know you love to sing.
I love to sing.
Jenny, do you play?
You know what, my daughter and I started taking fiddle lessons together a couple of years ago, and so we have a great time jamming in the house.
Hey, Tim, if you play drums, we can do something with this group.
So I would reduce the price of parking to reduce the competitiveness of surface parking.
Thank you.
And I play guitar.
Transit. Let's talk about transit here as we've got about 10, 15 more minutes here. What are your priorities? So let's start with you, Tim. With downtown transit. What are you giving me this for?
I don't know, you skipped over me on everything until I played guitar.
Well, there you go. I'll give you a few minutes here, Tim.
No, I don't
I'll give you lots of time earlier.
Okay, yeah.
We can take this into the alley out back if you want later.
Okay. I think that we're kind of on the process of developing the electric fleet of buses, and I think that's done through attrition, and I like the idea that we're building them here in Winnipeg. I like the idea that we can't store electricity like you can with oil or natural gas, so if we're flowing it somewhere, if it can't be stored, let's use it for public transportation, and I think we should have pricing with Manitoba Hydro that would sort of make that an equitable solution. But I also like the idea that buses could be more nimble. We have great tracts of land throughout the city that remain dormant. They're not good for development. And the one that bothers me the most is when I go over bumper to bumper in Kenniston and that bottleneck, and it's horrible to travel there. I keep looking over at that abandoned railroad bridge and that tract of land, and I'm going, it held a freight train. We could easily get it up to speed to hold a small transit bus and make work buses to reduce that. Carbon footprints down, we could make them so they go into transit stations that would be right outside the door for inclement weather. But I also like the idea that it gives you a chance to unwind. If you're in bumper-to-bumper traffic and you're looking at your costs, and gas is never going down in price, wear and tear on the road, the vehicle, it just makes a lot of sense to have a more nimble and effective transit. And I don't have all the ideas, but I certainly do know that if we talked and collaborated with the people that are in transit, we could probably come up with some better functionality and probably be a little more attractive to outside investors if we used all that vacant land that sits around. It doesn't look attractive to people.
Ed, what would you do on the transit file?
I would make buses a public service and have them free, paid for by property taxes with a parking element. So,
Omar, what would you do?
Electric buses, of course, it's a great idea. But for long run, instead of rapid transit, LRT would be the great idea for city of Winnipeg.
Doug.
New Flyer Industries is a business in Winnipeg. It is a national success story.
International.
International, thank you, I forgot the in part. The aspect of us having a bus company here, building buses, we need to engage with them. We need to make better buses, so when I say to you, hey, it's snowing, ride a bus, you go, yeah, I'll ride a bus. As opposed to what is happening today, we have low morale in the Winnipeg Transit, we have this non-friendly relationship seemingly with everyone. We've got them apologizing for 25 years. They've been apologizing for their buses being not in service. We have to change this kind of image. We need to know that there is not a lot of money going to them, so it's not their fault. But we do have to reinvent the bus system. I love the idea of innovation. I love the idea of staying buses. Sorry, Irma. I like the idea of them being nice enough that we could actually not care about an LRT.
Venkat, this might be the solution to you, so you're here on time. Take the bus.
Could I interrupt and give?
Very quickly.
I'd
Go
say
ahead.
have coffee shops at the back of the bus.
Venkat?
Oh, and let's make transit free in 2022.
Venkat?
I propose to encourage people coming to downtown. For low-income people under 15,000, we want to give a $1 bus fare to make the transit used more. But in the long term, what I believe is that we have train tracks all around the city where we build the rapid transit. The same train tracks can be used for light rail, and we can use the downtown station as a main station and build few stations and have spoke and hub system where people go in light rail to a particular location and then they take a small bus to go to nearest to their houses.
Mr. Mayor, what's your vision for transit? And I realize there is a committee looking at this right now, but what would you like to see happen in this city?
I think the transit system historically has been set up for transit. It's a good system for transit. Where it needs to shift is it needs to be designed around the rider, from a rider perspective and a rider experience. And so that means fundamental changes to our transit system. We are doing the operational review, thanks for pointing that out, Richard, which is looking at everything from the electrification of the fleet to a low-income bus pass, both of which I support and want to see implemented. And of course, making sure that we are, yes, building rapid transit networks for a city that's growing to 1 million people. It's fine to oppose it, but you still need to figure out how you're going to move 1 million people around without having gridlock for everybody else. And so we're seeing the benefits of rapid transit through the Graham Transit Mall with the development of True North and Artist Development, anchored around that transit auto mall. We need to obviously look at high-frequency networks, something, again, I support, and we're making sure that we're studying it. Electrification, one thing to keep in mind with electrification is it's one thing to promise buses, but you need the charging stations, and that's why I've been meeting at New Flyer with Paul Soubry on what is possible and how soon, and we've been working with the province on it as well, with a report that is public. And so we got a lot more work to do. What I don't think we can be affording to do is to make unfunded promises to the tune of over, about $600 million
Hang on, Don.
without a funding source. And I appreciate the fact that Jenny has acknowledged she hasn't made her tax promise pledge. I've made my tax pledge. You can find it at bowmanforwinnipeg.ca. And I would encourage all the candidates to say, what is your tax policy? Because there's a lot of promises being made, but I think one of the key promises is, what are you going to do on the tax front?
I want to get to Don and I want to get to Jenny, but just very quickly, Brian, Soubry has said publicly that he would front some of the costs of this for electrification of the buses. He said that publicly, and there's been very little take-up. Would you take him up on that?
I'll take free money from New Flyer and from any other business if they have it, absolutely. I've been having excellent dialogue with Minister Rochelle Squires. I've also spoken with Minister Catherine McKenna as well previously, and I'm excited about the future of the changes that we're going to be able to make by working together. And on this one, on this file, all three levels of government, I believe, are aligned. And I think industry is waiting as well to be part of that. And the dialogue is happening. I want to see the further electrification of the transit fleet. It can happen, but we obviously need to think about the charging stations. So there's due diligence that's happening right now with
That
the
would have to be
operational
phased
review.
in because you can't do that overnight. Don, then Jenny.
Sorry, quick question. We have $1.7 billion debt. I'm sure you know it. We have $89 million deficit. I never heard anyone, especially moderator, will you please ask my incumbent, so he'd love to spend money on rapid transit. Every day people, they come up, they're talking about borrow more money. So who's going to balance the books then? Some of them, they're talking about $300 million for sports complex. Sorry, I'm not going to take him. Some of them, they came up, hired 12 more cops. Each cop cost $200,000. I'm going to sum up $1.7 billion Winnipeg deficit, which is going to be each Winnipeggers, including me, $2,250 next year. And right now, this year, $89 million. So please ask some of them how we can fix our budget. Thank you.
Sure, I can respond. I'm proud of the fact that I've balanced 4 budgets. We have a debt ceiling. I go down to New York every year to meet with bond raters to make sure our credit rating is stable. And I'm very proud of the track record at City Hall. Councillor Scott Gillingham's been doing great work. We had the lowest expenditure growth in the history of the City of Winnipeg in the last budget. And in terms of where do you get the dollars for rapid transit, I think that's a great question. Something changed after the last election.
I can quick tell.
And it was the election of a new provincial government that is less than friendly to rapid transit and transit. We had the end of the 50-50 cost sharing thrust upon us in the middle of the year.
Mr. Mayor, Omar, Don.
Only one question. He said the first announcement after announce his budget, 2.33% cap rate, property taxes for 4 years.
Okay, Omar.
Thank you. Don, go ahead.
Okay. As a transit driver that I was, I thought it best that I shouldn't, as an environmentalist, be driving a diesel bus. So I went to Jim Rando with Tim Sale, Solar Solution, and a few other guys, you know, Len Semborski from God Supply. After our meeting, something happened. The first set of electric buses were built in the city. And here's why. The provincial government and Red River College, they did a study that says Winnipeg, Manitoba is the best place in the world for electric vehicles. So I asked Jim Rando at the time, why am I driving a transit diesel bus when New Flyer is in our backyard? The mayor, with all due respect, your State of the City address had zero, nada, nothing, zilch about electrification, about the environment, and the media were there, and I asked them afterwards, are you guys not going to ask the mayor about anything like this? What is missing here, folks, is the vision. Listen, Ottawa is building light rail, okay? Millions of dollars, billions of dollars, whatever, but without a vision, without a concept that we can pull the federal government together. They have given us the largest number of equalization payment and, you know, for infrastructure, and they put inside of that it has to be for green technology. They said it have to be. So we have an opportunity. We're at a crossroad that if you elect somebody who is clueless, have no idea, have no vision for where we need to go, what we're going to see happen next 4 years, we have another debate again, and we talk about the things that we're going to do. Actions speak louder than words.
They certainly do. Jenny.
Thank you very much. I appreciate an opportunity to talk about my vision for transit. So there's a lot to unpack in what we just heard. And the first thing that I'm going to state is that the most important thing that we can do is ensure that everybody that gets on a bus, whether they're a passenger or a driver, is actually safe. And it's one thing to allocate funds to bus safety. It's another thing to actually put those plans into action. And I've already said that the most important thing and the most important human right that we all enjoy is security of person. Today, our transit system has become a very dangerous place indeed. So bus safety is absolutely number one, and the right people to provide safety and security anywhere in the city of Winnipeg are our Winnipeg Police Service. Now, getting on to the issue of actual transit and how it's going to work. You know, I have lived in Winnipeg for a long time, and I have asked myself the same question over and over again. One of the best things about running for mayor of Winnipeg is I was able to get an answer. The question is this: how is it possible that in a city that is home to the best bus manufacturer in the world and an immense source of clean, green hydroelectric power, how is it possible that we still have one of the world's worst transit systems? Let's face it, the Winnipeg transit system today sucks. It just does. It takes a long time to get to where we're going. We don't have a lot of people that you would call choice riders on the bus because in other cities we take transit because it's better, faster, and cheaper. And that's just simply not the case here in Winnipeg. So my vision for transit, which I've already announced and I have costed and I have identified the funds for it. You know what?
Transit don't suck, Jenny. Sorry. Transit don't suck. I have to take up for the men and the women.
And the men and the women who are serving us in transit are absolutely phenomenal, and that's not the point. The point
Mayor Bowman just wanted a quick word. Go ahead, Brian.
Look, a Winnipegger is a Winnipegger is a Winnipegger. And every person who takes transit is a valued citizen. And that's why we're working with the Transit Advisory Committee to implement the recommendations with the input of ATU and many other stakeholders. But you don't call Winnipeggers, you don't talk down to Winnipeggers like that. Sorry.
That are unspent in your budget that you've allocated to bus safety, but you haven't bothered to implement yet. So let's just be clear on that. And a Winnipegger is a Winnipegger, but we deserve a transit system for all of us. And that, you know what? And so my transit system is about bus safety, it's about electrification, but at the end of the day, it's about more buses, more often, on more routes that make sense so that more Winnipeggers can get where they're going in a
What do you mean
Let's not
by,
miss this.
hang
Let's
on,
not miss
Don,
this, folks,
hang on.
because transit safety has
Don.
nothing to do with the implementation of anything.
Transit
the
safety
number one reason why transit safety is need to be addressed is simply because of the fares. You ask any bus driver, they will tell you one thing. The number one cause for the disruption and the issues on the buses has nothing to do with the drivers, has nothing to do with transit, but everything to do with the fares. So please consult the drivers and they'll tell you. I was a driver and so was my wife.
You know what? I have also consulted the drivers, in spite of the fact that the leadership of the ATU did not want to have a consult with me. However, transit safety is a very important issue. It's important for the drivers and the passengers. But if we want to get on to the actual service of transit, the reality is that today it takes 2 or 3 or 4 times as long to get in from one point to another in this city by taking the bus than it does for driving. And we know that, I know that, lots of us know it, and so what we need to do is put together a system where it makes sense to take the bus. It makes sense to make the choice to leave your car at home because it is better, faster, and cheaper to get to where you're going.
Thank you. I'm over time here, but I always like to end on a high and positive note. So very quickly from all the candidates, going right down the line here, because I want to end with you. I want to end with you. Name one thing that you believe would make Winnipeg downtown more beautiful. Go ahead, Tim.
I wanted this to be a zinger, but you're catching me off guard.
That's what I do.
I would say downtown would be more beautiful if we walked down the street and saw everybody smiling.
Jen.
I think one of the things that will contribute to beautifying downtown are public water fountains and public bathrooms.
Don.
Make downtown livable again.
Doug.
I think you know that there's a lot of music in this world, and we need to hear it on every corner.
Next time, bring your sax. Omar.
Parking is so expensive. I wish I can put to a $2 parking.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Thank you so
much. Make it beautiful. I'm looking for something beautiful.
Oh, something really beautiful.
Something beautiful for Winnipeg downtown.
You know what? Bring foreign investment, trust me. And put up over a vacancy rate in Winnipeg down and grow businesses.
Venkat.
I think we should make downtown lively. That means we should have more people walking there, which can only happen if we have lots of shopping complexes and businesses running there, and more housing downtown, and good parking for people to come and have a good time there.
Brian Bowman.
There's nothing more beautiful than Winnipeggers themselves. We've added 52,000 more Winnipeggers in the last 4 years, 17,000 people living in downtown Winnipeg. I'd like to see thousands upon thousands of more Winnipeggers walking, cycling in downtown Winnipeg.
All right, Ed. Ed, you knocked this out of the park for us.
We didn't talk about homelessness, and I guess we won't. Here's to knock it out of the park. Free buses. The bus is free, but you have to pay for the coffee, sandwiches, and the newspaper. And instead of taking the pull apart bus, you take the pull apart. Instead of taking the pull apart express, you take the pull apart espresso.
Thank you all for being here tonight. Thank you all to the candidates. We only had a few moments here. Get out, get educated, enjoy, drive safely. Thanks again. Or walk safely, cycle safely. Is anybody